Metastone, Chapter 7. I considered contracting a disease the next day as a way to avoid school. Nothing life-threatening, just serious enough to require home tutoring for the next 3 months. A cold or a flu would only buy me a week at most, and something told me Claude's vendetta was not the quick-dying type. Stay away from her, he had said. Or what? I knew what Mum would say if I told her about it. Why didn't you talk to him? Ask him what his problem is. As if. Sometimes I thought that my mother believed all of life's problems could be handled like a paper she graded. This one's a B problem, this one's a C minus. Sometimes I didn't think she lived in the real world with the rest of us. It was that frame thing. She preferred to patrol the edges. Finally, I just got ready for school. There's no courage in my actions, but I knew if I didn't show up, Claude would find his way to my house, and I didn't want him anywhere near my family. I checked my back all the way to school. Every time a kid on a bike rode past or a dog barked, I jumped. I was relieved when I finally saw Fish and Stan at the front gate. I'd been in one fight in my life, grade 5. Horatio Jones had come up behind me and grabbed my Slurpee. I asked him to give it back, but he'd just pushed me down onto the gravel playing field. See how well talking works, Ma? Before I could even make a move, Stan had come steaming across the field and sent Horatio flying, Slurpee and all. He'd never bothered me again. But as I watched the cherry juice sink into the ground, I felt deeply ashamed that it hadn't been me who'd knocked him down. Stan never mentioned the incident. That's the kind of friend he was. But I knew I couldn't tell him about Claude's phone call. Something in me would fizzle out if I handed my fight to him. Hey, Conrad, Fish waved me over. Practice over? Yep, he began. Amazing, I guess. We are so lucky to hang with him, Stan said. Fish grunted. No, really, Fish. It's like a privilege, even knowing you. Yeah, Fish grumbled. As we moved closer to the school, I looked around to see if Claude and his death squad had arrived. What's with you? Fish said, poking my ribs. Me, huh? Nothing. Stan looked suspicious. Since when don't you join me in harassing Fish? It's like one of our favorite things, like raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens. I smiled tiredly. I didn't sleep that well, I said. After Aunt Frida's lice wrap last night, I hadn't fallen back asleep properly. Visions of black eyes and bloodied lips had been dancing in my head. Hey, Fish, nice serving today. I recognized the owner of those smooth vocal cords immediately. Kat walked over and joined our circle. I breathed in the smell of soap and something tangy. A citrus grove, I decided, on a hot summer day. Hey, Kat, yeah, thanks, you too. You got a wicked spike, said Fish, straightening his shoulders. If he could have pulled off flexing his biceps without risking Stan's attention, he would have. Kat just shrugged at the compliment, and her molasses-colored hair swayed slightly. I resisted the overwhelming urge to brush it with the tips of my fingers. I thought, if there had been a cherry tree nearby, I might have plucked a blossom and put it in that hair. Then I caught Stan checking me out. You might want to watch your jaw. It's scraping the ground, he whispered. Shut up, I hissed. Kat turned her attention on us. Did you say something, Stanley? A wisp of smoke escaped from Stan's ears. It's Stan, he said tersely. I was just having a private conversation here with my buddy Ben. It had entirely escaped me that I should ask your permission to speak. I do apologize. Kat looked surprised at the sudden tirade, but I knew Stan well enough to know that anybody could set him off, and he really did hate being called Stanley. Hey, how's your foot doing? I blurted out. Okay, maybe it wasn't as smooth as Henry's blossom move, but I was trying. It paid off. She actually smiled right at me. Well, I don't think it's broken, she answered, but her voice was higher than normal, registering at least moderately on the flirt scale. I recognized the tone from years of trying to make a telephone call and hearing Matt on the extension, mid-romance. She swished her hair, another good sign. Then she turned and left. Stan watched, then nodded slowly. Huh, I think you're making progress, young Ben. I grinned. Suddenly the world looked a half shade brighter. No thanks to you, Stanley. You practically scared her off, said Fish. Stan's eyes narrowed. At least I wasn't making a play for her. He straightened his shoulders like a soldier, an obvious parody of Fish's early move. I wasn't making a play for her, Ben, he said. I wouldn't do that to you. For the last time, there's nothing happening with me and Kat. I think you got a shot, Fish said, coming up beside me. It's true, said Stan. You're a really likable chap. Why do you talk that way? Asked Fish, frowning. It's called reading, Stan explained with exaggerated patience. You should try it sometimes. Fish rolled his eyes. He hadn't read a complete novel since grade 4, and was proud of it. Philistine, Stan muttered, and left to go to the locker. wacko, Fish said, and we watched him weave through the crowded hallway. What's the Philippines got to do with anything? I smiled and slapped him on the back. Absolutely nothing. As we neared our lockers, I caught sight of Melody flipping her red locks in Fish's direction. Go get her, boy, I said, and he was out of the gate like a greyhound. I was still smiling when I got to my locker. The day was looking brighter. And that thing with Claude, maybe he was blowing smoke. Maybe the phone call was just a stupid prank. But when I opened my locker, a note fell out. Claude was inspired this time, and artistic. He cut out a picture, probably modeled some dance program of his sister's. The male dancer held the ballerina high above his head in a lift. Her arms opened in an arabesque. Claude had used a black felt marker to cross out the face of the male dancer. Subtle. I pulled out the book I needed, slipped the note down and deep into my locker as I could, and slammed the metal door hard, so shut that the tips of my fingers went numb. End of chapter 7.